All right, Shalom, Yasharal, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Kodash, double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone, peace and blessed to the whole elect, back to the spirit of power, Yahweh Shai, with another quick lesson. And we're going to be in Revelation 17 chapter, right? So we're pretty much going to start from the top. All right, Revelation chapter 17, verse 1 says, And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. All right, and as many waters is pretty much talking about other all the nations. As a matter of fact, because it says that in down in verse 15. All right, Revelation chapter 17, verse 15 says, And he said unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the great whore is symbolic of America in general. Okay, so it's talking about that power seat that it holds over the other nations, even its own allies. Right, America's a bully, even to its own allies. Right, and in these modern days we're living in, right, we see it happening in real time. These nations are starting to rise up and get some common sense back into them and realize that America's not it. America ain't it. All right. You see the BRICS nations and other countries, their allies and so on and so forth. They're rising up and waking up and realizing that falling behind America has had a very negative influence on our own country's economies and people, and standards of living and so on and so forth. Okay. So these nations are starting to wake up and get some common sense. Like I said once before, you laid in bed with the whore, all right, and now she give you a very bad disease. Now you want your money back. Well, it doesn't work like that. You laid in bed with the war, you can't get your money back. All right, you all, though the Lord may be using these other nations to come against America, you all have your troubles that you have to face as well. Excuse me. All right, so going back to Revelation chapter 17, verse 1 says, And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore. And I believe there's a scripture in Jeremiah 51. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Talking about the judgment of the great whore. Yeah, Jeremiah 51 and 13. It says, O thou that dwellest upon many waters, you see, same thing we read in verse 1. And I'm sorry, actually. Well, yeah, we read it in verse 1, but we backed it up with Revelation chapter 17, verse 15, right? Jeremiah 51:13 says, O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness, right? Thy end is come. And we're living in that time period where the end of this particular rulership is about to go down finally and permanently. Okay. Verse 14 says, The Lord of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, Surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up and shout against thee. All right, and that's going into these countries like we just mentioned, BRICS nations. All right, mostly being Russia, and next to that China. Those are two big bads out of the BRICS nations. All right, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. All right, and other nations are joining up. You have the Saudis, who are very important in some kind of way to America, and they pretty much said we're going with the BRICS. All right, but this is something normal that you're going to continue seeing. Right, and we'll get there even in Revelation chapter 17, where it says these shall the whole. All right, eventually, well, the countries that are against her are just that they're against it, but eventually America's going to have allies, right? Or and not going to say have allies, but I'm talking about going into the like the NATO, right? North American Treaty Organization and the EU, all right? All these allies that are now with America who are vassal states, okay? They're eventually, something's going to happen. We don't know exactly what it is, but we know the Lord is going to do it because we trust in the scriptures more than we trust in men. We're talking about the world, these nations, these governments and stuff like that, right? We trust the Lord. That's all we need, all right? We're fine, all right? We know the Lord is going to provide for us and so on and so forth, okay? We're not worried about anything, all right? We keep our faith and we keep our trust in the Lord and we keep our head in the scriptures and we're going to be fine. But, close off a point, there's going to be something the Lord's going to bring upon this earth that's going to be that pivotal point for World War III. And everybody's just going to go at it, right? It's going to be full blown. It's not just going to be, like it says in Matthew 24, wars and rumors of wars and so on and so forth. There's going to be no more rumors. It's going to actually be game time for all countries, right? Not just Russia and Ukraine or this place and that place, little small skirmishes, arguments back and forth. There's going to be something that's going to be very pivotal. It's going to happen where everybody's going to be, in that World War III, okay? But to close off this particular point in verse 14 says, "For surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee." All right, going back to what I was speaking about the rich nations. All right, the Lord's going to bring these nations against America, and it says that they shall not spare children. They're not going to have pity. They're not going to care about silver and gold and things of that nature. No, they're coming for slaughter. All right, and that's something that the American citizens are not ready for, because they're so used to being comfortable here, the land of unwalled villages. They're used to getting things their way. All right, they're used to watching the news and seeing bombs dropped in Baghdad. Right, you didn't hear about bomb dropped in New York last week. Right, you didn't hear about missile rockets just crushed West Nevada or I don't know, Northern Dakota or South, whatever. You know, that's not normal regular news in the American society. But you can turn on the news and hear those things happening across the world. And at this very moment, these things are happening at a very high level because this is the Lord bringing his judgments upon earth. The Lord is creeping with his judgments. He's doing things little by little by little. And every time he does something, it increases more and more. Like the situation recently that happened with Morocco. All right. 2,000 accounted. All right. But the death toll is definitely going to continue rising as the days go on. Okay, and if I can, I'm trying to keep my watching because I want to know. I want to know how high the numbers go because ultimately it's judgment from the Lord, anyways. But let's go on back because that can lead to a whole other conversation. So let's go back to Revelation chapter 17. Uh, Verse 1 says, "I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore," which we just read in Jeremiah 51, 13 and 14. And we also read about the them sitting upon many waters in Revelation chapter 17, verse 15. Verse 2 says, "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication." Obviously, talking about all the other nations, okay? "Who have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication." All right, and that's going into hold, my water's rolling away. Give me a second. Right, sorry. What was I saying? It says, "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of the fornication." Yeah, look at America's its ways. Okay, it's pushing the Momo agenda, saying that you should do this, you should do that, you should govern yourself this way, that way, or whatever the case may be. The different philosophies of America, right? I think we mentioned the Momo agenda, but just things in that in general. You can worship whatever you want to worship, right? You can go and paint a smiley face, on a water fountain and come and worship that water fountain every day. It's okay in America as long as you're not stepping out of bounds with the rules, the laws, the legislations, and things of that nature that they've set up. They don't care, right? You can do whatever you want to do here in America, all right? It's basically a land of idols, all right? Whatever idol you want to worship, you can do here in America, and no one's gonna put up a fight against you as long as you're doing what the American government tells you to do. All right, you're not stepping out of lines. All right, and other nations have followed this. All right, even down to that Momo agenda, they spread it, and now they're starting to get pushback from that. All right, but it says, "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication." We're gonna grab another scripture real quick, which I believe is back in Jeremiah 51. Second, here, pull it up. Jeremiah, it is Jeremiah 51 and 7 is the point. I'm gonna start up at 6. Jeremiah 51:6. It says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon, deliver every man his soul. Be not, be not coming this way." It says, "Be not." It says, "Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance." All right, that big payback. The Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. All right, verse 7 was that point. It says, "Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, and may all the earth drunken, and the nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad." You see, the nations went along with it. They laid in bed with the whore. They went along with it, and ultimately, this is why the Lord lists them as enemies. Well, actually, because I'm speaking on modern day times, but there are enemies in Psalm 83rd chapter because they have been just that. All right, but uh, I'll just stay speaking on in modern day terms. All right, so these nations have went along with everything America has done, and ultimately, it's what is what we always talk about. Everything has been formed and fashioned around and against the Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Everything has been against you. And as you see, the other nations were down with it. They were in bed with the whore when she was getting down and dirty and doing her thing. They were okay with it. You know why? Because their societies thrive on it. And that's what the book of Revelation chapter 18 goes into. And Lord willing, the Spirit allows it may be the next one I go into because it flows right into it. And there's some points that come from chapter 18 in the chapter 17. All right, but we read this again, Jeremiah 51:7. "Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad." Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Excuse me. How for her? Take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. You see, this is where everyone's trying to duck, and that actually jumps, leads you over to Revelation 18 chapter, but we're not going to go there right now. But this is going to be a point in history where everyone's going to stand back, all right, because America's going to go down. She's going to go down fast and hard because she's going to get destroyed off this map. All right, it's going to be a desert wasteland that's going to be here. All right, so let's go back to Revelation chapter 17, verse 3 says, "So he carried me away in the spirit, carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns." Now, of course, we know what the woman is, all right? That's symbolic of America, right? Exactly what it's talking about. When we get down there, Revelation chapter 17, verse 5, all right? Verse 5 is talking about America. People can't get it because it does not say America straight out. Pardon me, grab a drink real quick. All right, so yeah, because it doesn't say because it doesn't say America straight out, right? This woman, right? Because this you have to keep in mind that John the Revelator was seeing a vision, right? And so he might have been seeing a woman and a beast and all these things, but they were all symbolism. They were symbolic of the things to come in real time, right? Actually talk about nations and peoples and things of that nature, okay? And this beautiful woman he was seeing was talking about America, all right? She was very attractive, very alluring, all right? Very, kind of like reminds me of the Matrix movie, the first one, right? Very deep movie too. But the first Matrix movie, okay, what's the young guy's name? I think his name was Mouse or something like that. But he sent Neo into the simulation, and because he was training, yeah, he was training, and there was the woman in the red dress, and that you see how everything else looked plain with that green overlay tone or whatever, all right. But the only thing that stood out was the woman in red, all right. And then she had so far that had I believe if I'm correct, she had blonde hair. It was either brown or blonde, but anyways, point being, she was the one that stood out, and that is how America has been. All right, a lot of nations they come here, to escape their third world country societies because they think that America is just the ish. All right, and to them it is. All right, they can come to America and live better, but for the Israelites, this is hell for us. Okay, and though you may be able to come here, these other countries come here and make something of themselves and do this and do that. Ultimately, Babylon is the worst place that you can ever come on this earth. All right, and it will be destroyed off the map. And for those nations that came here to get rich and rise themselves up, in society, using the Israelites to do so. All right, making merchandise of the Israelites. All right, ultimately, they're gonna pay the ultimate price being here, which is destruction. That's gonna come by. Jacob's trouble is gonna get to them, and they're gonna take the microchip and all these things, and ultimately missiles are gonna hit this place, and they're gonna be melted. All right. So these other nations aren't innocent either. But let's stay on point. It says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast. And the scarlet colored beast is pretty much talking about other governments, all right, which are well, it actually says it further down this chapter, but they're pretty much the vassal states, all right, and that's going into uh uh well, we're gonna get to it, all right. So it says, having 7 heads and 10 horns, all right? 7 heads and 10 horns. And it says, and the woman was, and remember that talking about the 7 heads and the 10 horns, because we're going to get down there, further, because we're going into the Greeks, the Romans, and, so on and so forth, all right? Those seven, all right, other governments or whatever, all right? Um, which are all powered, or actually not powered by, but they give up power to America, as we mentioned before, vassal states. But we'll get there so we can explain it better. Verse 4 says, and the woman was arrayed. As a matter of fact, before I go there though, because it says the woman that sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, right, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Real quick before we move on, I'm gonna grab this real quick. Um, this is Daniel chapter 7. Verse 7 says, and after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast. All right, let's talk about that ancient Roman Empire. Right, it says, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse, meaning different. It was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. All right, and really originally it was seven, but I forget the two. I had to double check it. But there was two that kind of broke, split apart, which created the 10. But yeah, this is what basically the same thing that's going into. All right, um verse 8 says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, and that little horn is talking about America. Okay, it says there came up among them another little horn. It says, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and those three are talking about the French, the British, and the Spanish. All right, so you had those the not was it not the American Revolution? I know there was a French Revolution, the Spanish one, and I forget the one, but that one with the British, pretty much leads up to that wicked holiday that people celebrate, but leading up to the 4th of July. All right, these American Edomites gaining their independence from those European, those British Edomites. All right, has nothing to do with Israel. All right, it says there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of men, and a mouth speaking great things. Right? And there was a lot of power given to it, a lot of lies, a lot of deceits. And it talks about that. Which that's the ancient Roman Empire. I'm talking about in modern day, the revival of the Roman Empire. All right, or which was during the Renaissance period when America came back up. All right, he talks about that in several verses. Um, but they are fashioned after the ancient Roman Empire. Okay, and so one of the most major things they've done is lie to the societies, right? lied to you Israelites, hidden your history from you, changed things, changed names, changed land names, and so on and so forth. They've structured everything that has come from the rebuilding off of lies, based off lies, right? And everyone on the earth has, eaten these lies up, and that has been a major part of the game. Okay, lies, all right, and this is how they've managed to structure and hold everything together, which is also part of prophecy. All right, Job 9:24, the earth has been given to the hands of the wicked. All right, that was a prophecy that was made way back in Genesis 27 chapter, verse 39 and 40. All right, when they were given the blessing of the fatness of the earth and the sword. Okay, and they were blessed with that way back then. All right, that was prophecy fulfilled, and prophecy is playing out. Okay, let's not get too far off point. We'll go back to Revelation chapter 17. Verse 4 says, um, but also, like, there's one more I want to grab though, before we go back, which is Revelation chapter 13, verse 1. Revelation 13:1 says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. Right, we know what the sea is talking about now. Pretty much going to what we read in Revelation chapter 17, verse. Matter of fact, we read it again real quick. Revelation chapter 17, verse 15 says, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. All right. So he's coming up, in a certain power seat over the whole earth. He says a beast, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. All right, and it had 10 crowns because once again it's talking about other rulership, other governments, and so on and so forth. Speaking blasphemy, like they speak about, scriptures talk about. I believe it's Psalms 73 or 71. I think it's 73. But how they speak about, they speak lawfully about oppression. Second Thessalonians chapter 2. Trying to exalt themselves over the Most High, over the Israelites, call themselves God, so on and so forth. All these different blasphemous things, pretty much like the scriptures say, woe to them that call evil good and good evil. Okay, everything that the Bible speaks about according to the Heavenly Father. All right, which is it's obviously good. They do the exact opposite, showing you that these people are the wicked. Everything that's written in the scriptures, they do the exact opposite. Okay, but it shows you that these people are not the true Israelites. All right, those people in the state of Israel are not the true Hebrew Israelites. That is you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Americans by way of Jacob's 12 sons. All right, 12 tribes of Israel. That's who you are. All right, these people who are in the state of Israel are Amalekites, which are the grandson of Esau. Tells you that in Genesis 36 chapter. Okay, so going back to Revelation chapter 17. All right, verse 4 says, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. All right, and we talked about that, right? How she was so beautiful and so attractive. All right, you can do this, you can become real industrialized, by dealing with America, and that's what these other nations have done. All right, that's why America has such a high import of goods, and these other nations have such a high export of goods because it's those deals, those trade agreements, and so on and so forth. All right, and also, they make even more money with tariffs and things of that nature. Okay, so all this, it ties to society. I almost said modern society, but just society in general. If you have the spiritual eyes to see something. Okay, it says, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. All these businesses, things of that nature. It says, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication, which we just read about. So I want to grab something real quick, Revelation chapter 18, and I want to grab. We'll grab Revelation chapter 18, verse. I want to start at verse 16. It says, and saying, alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster, you see, every shipmaster All right, trade deals and agreements. Okay, by by way of sea, maybe even by air, cargo ships or whatever by air, but mostly by sea. Okay, and you have tariffs that give extra taxes for things that come in and back and forth from across seas and things of that nature, higher taxes. It says, for in 1 hour so great riches has come to naught, be nothing, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea, you see, stood afar off. And verse 18 says, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? Talking about America, which is Babylon the Great. All right, and he calls it by several different names. It's like, I think it says the great city because that was the spirit. Because I did listen. It was a great city, the golden city. I think there was a couple more. Um, and Lord willing, if I remember, the spirit allows, I actually re-upload that lesson if I can find it. I'll go back and look for it and re-upload that particular lesson, right? But yeah, America goes by a few different names dealing with so-called greatness, right? And this particular verse says, "What city is like unto this great city?" All right, verse 19 says, "And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city!" All right, once again, America, wherein were made rich, right? Were made rich all that had what ships in the sea, right? By reason of her costliness. You see the way that America makes money for these other nations. All right. And that is called a cash cow. Okay. If you don't know what a cash cow is, look that up. It says, by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. And while I'm here, I'm also going to grab verse 3. Revelation chapter 18, verse 3 says, for all nations have done what? Have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth, the other nations, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, with this whore, America, Babylon the Great. And the merchants, you see, ties in, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. You see, it's the same thing. In one verse it says, by reason of her costliness, and here in verse 3 it says, for the abundance of her delicacies. Right? So let's go back to Revelation chapter 17, verse 5. It says, uh, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon, the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And there's an actual breakdown dealing with that. I try to find it, but I can't find it because you know, uh, which brothers talk about it all the time. How you can, go into, a particular person's page and you use the search bar. Well, I don't have, my laptop's never with me, so because I don't know if some people know it doesn't work the same on a phone. If you go to a laptop, it will work. If you go to a person's page and you type in a certain lesson or whatever, you should be able to find it. But when you're on a cell phone, it doesn't work that way. If you go to, a search bar, it's going to pull up a general search, and we know how YouTube is. It's going to flood you with a lot of garbage. All right, so usually when well, I'll say me, usually when I'm looking for a video, I can never find it because it's always my cell phone. Usually I'm never around. My laptop is at the house, so a lot of times it's hard for me to find certain videos and stuff like that because I'm not I'm pretty much gone from the house all day long. So I just try to do my best to try to go back and search it out. But there is a particular breakdown to Revelation chapter 17 verse 5, and he's dealing with that name, but it also pairs up with Revelation chapter 13. No, yeah, Revelation chapter 13, verse 18, which when I'm talking about the number. All right, the number of a man, which is 603 score and six. That's 666. It all ties into the same thing. All right, but we can't go into it right now. Dealing with the Greek numbers and so on and so forth. But there's a whole breakdown to that. But anyways, like I said, I'll try to go back and find it. It's kind of hard for me to find, but I'm gonna keep searching for it so I find it so I can actually, maybe Lord willing, if I can't find it, I'll restudy it and do a breakdown on it. But continuing on for now, Revelation chapter 17 verse 6 says, "And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua," right? Because people have perished for this truth, all right, in ancient time periods, and it's going to happen all over again, all right, to the faithful believers in Yahushua. Like it says in Revelation chapter 19, the testimony of Yahushua. That's going to be the reason why these devils come against us, which is pretty much. I mean, I hate to call it a promise, but I mean, you can call it a promise. Revelation 12:12, Isaiah 59:19. Right, this is going to happen. Persecutions are going to happen all over again, and we're going to have to stand on our faith and trust in the things that we learned thus far. All right, and know that the Lord's going to get us through it. All right, prayer is going to be that key thing now, and even more so, when the persecution comes, okay, because I'm pretty sure at some point they're gonna ban Bibles, do away with Bibles or whatever. So, you know, not remember every scripture is not going to help you, right? Yahweh Shah wept. That's not going to help you in the time of persecution, all right? Knowing about King Jehoiakim or whatever, that's not going to help you. You're gonna need those verses where the Lord reminded you, like my servant shall eat, or where He told you that I'm gonna turn back your captivity. Matthew 24, Luke 21, all those types of different scriptures talking about the persecution, what how you should conduct yourself during those time periods, and also remembering that the Lord says He's gonna give you salvation. All right. So those are going to be the important scriptures and things of that nature that we're going to want to have in our memory bank. And you never know, especially to us brothers who have been called to be teachers, right? You never know. You may be uh, at some point around a crowd of individuals who the Lord brought upon you, and you might, you have no Bible, but you're going to need to don't come this way, man. You might need to comfort individuals, right? And those are those scriptures that are going to comfort them, all right? So that happened, right? Anyways, what verse were we at? Let me say, six, seven. Nope. So not seven. Yeah, six. Six. I think we didn't finish it. All right, it says, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahweh. And when I saw her, I wondered with great adoration. Once again, you got to understand. Let's talk about America. All right. Regardless of what you feel about it, let's talk about America, and this place will be destroyed off of this map. All right. This place that people love so much, the Lord's going to wipe it off the map because it's a wicked place. All right. What was the verse? Let me see if I can find it real quick. What did we just read? And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahweh. All right. So we're going to grab this real quick. Revelation chapter 13, verse 7 says, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. All right. So those that are predestined, preordained, right, to receive salvation in these latter days are the only ones who are going to receive just that, salvation. That's why there are certain individuals waking up to this truth, men and women. It talks about that in Revelation chapter 7 verse 9. All right. Faithful men, women, and children. All right. But the most important ones of them all are Revelation chapter 7 verse 4. The 144,000, which are all men, 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel that make up the 144,000, that governing body. All right. And those that are meant to receive salvation in these latter days are the only ones who are going to receive salvation. And the rest are going to be the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. Talk about it in Zechariah 13:8. All right. There's another verse in Matthew 11 and like verse 12 where it talks about the kingdom of heaven suffered violence. All right. And that's what's been happening for ages now. We've been I mean, I guess you could say persecuted. I didn't want to say persecuted, but you can say that we've been persecuted for ages now. All right. And until Yahweh returns, we're going to continue suffering violence, persecution. All right. But the scriptures comfort us on that. 1 Corinthians 15:24, when the kingdom of heaven shall be delivered up to the Most High. All right. That's Yahweh coming and putting down all rule in this earth, destroying these heathen nations. All right. Giving us salvation from their cruelty. All right, so let's go back to Revelation chapter 17, verse 7. It says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? All right, he was baffled, okay? Talking about John the Revelator, because he's seeing this I'm gonna keep it PG, this chick here, chick by the name of America or Babylon. Oh yeah, she was something to see, man. She was one of those baddies at the club, right? It says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her. All right, remember that the beast that carrieth her. All right, because we talked about that 7 heads and 10 horns. All right, we're going to go into those 7 heads because it's down here. All right, it says of the beast that carrieth her, which of Matthew states, it says which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. All right, verse 8 says the beast that thou sawest was and is not. Right, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And that's the upbringing of America, that little horn, as we read in, I think it was in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 8, I believe it was. But it said, and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. You're gonna get taken by it. All right, you're gonna, and Israelites are doing that still today. Woe unto you that go down to Egypt for help. All right, you're trusting everything that you're being told by your lying ass government, and you're getting taken very easily by stimulus checks, and getting loaded up with free income every month, right? And all these things is gonna cause you to fall into a trap, a pit, a snare that your enemies have set up for you. All right. And it came out of where it says further up, it says, shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And we talked about that earlier. All right. When these Edomites came back up, okay, talks about that in Malachi 1. As a matter of fact, let's read it real quick. Malachi 1 and 4, it says, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus said the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. The border of wickedness, you see. All right, the upbringing of America, all right, which happened during the Renaissance period. Well, actually, not America. Uh, their whole rebuilding, all right, and coming back up and deceiving the whole world. Okay, I believe it talks about that in Revelation chapter. Let's go over there real quick. But during the Renaissance period, Renaissance meaning rebirth, right? This is what it is. They're whitewashing, their iconoclasm. Like it says in Job 9:24, the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, who and where is he? All right, it's the Edomites. Not Malachi, but First Maccabees 3:48. The heathen thought to lay up the book of the law and paint the likeness of their images. All right, they gave you the white Jesus and white angel babies with wings, and little Cupid looking niggas. Uh, um, made God white, and so on and so forth. All right, hid who the real saints are, the angels, and all these things. Okay. Um, but continuing on with our point, let me see here. It's in Revelation chapter 20. Let me find a verse. I don't know if I want to read all of it. Let's go right from the top. Revelation chapter 20, verse 1 says, and I saw an angel, all right, which was Yahushua, come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, right, and a great chain in his hand. The great chain was, symbolizing a great, period of slavery or bondage, however you want to put it, right? And that bottomless pit was talking about Europe, all right? It said, and he laid hold on the dragon, the old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years and cast him into the bottomless pit. And this was all around the time period of, you know, the fall of what was it, Western Rome, the pagan Rome, and upbringing of the Eastern Rome that was known as the Holy Roman Empire, where you actually had Jakes in rulership, okay, from like 1,000 to 1,100 years, the time of Constantine the Great, and so on and so forth. Those individuals, all right. The Byzantium, okay, Byzantine Empire. It said, and bound him 1,000 years and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, right? The Byzantine Empire time period, that particular age, right? Till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season, and that's where we are now. We're in that season of Idumea, in that little season where they are still loose, running rampant through the earth, lying, stealing, robbing, and trying to forward their enterprise, their new world order. All right. So we're going to jump down to verse 7. All right. Revelation 20 and 7 says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Right. And it says, and shall go out to the sea. And this was, once again, this was the Renaissance period. Renaissance was rebirth. If I'm correct, that was around 325 to 1350. All right. It says, but I have to double check that, check behind me. 'Cause I most definitely, I'm not good with dates. I try though. At least I'm putting forth the effort. Uh, I believe that was, if I'm correct, around 325, 1350 AD, that Renaissance period. It says in verse 8 says, and it shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And this is what America is. We talked about that earlier, making these nations mad. I mean, which is all through the spirit of power. You have about Shema Shai's way of prophecy, but causing the BRICS nations to be formulated, against America. And it talks about the what is it? It says Gog and Magog. That's Russia and its leader. Okay, which is right now who Putin, which he will probably be the one, at the very end. You never know. Someone else could rise up over Russia, but I don't. I see that it's not likely, but hey, anything can happen. But as right now, that's Vladimir Putin. Okay. It says verse 9 says, and they went up on the breadth of the earth and could pass the camp. Actually, we don't really need to read any more of that. Yeah, because I just wanted to grab that verse 7 where it says, when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Right, that was that after not after, but that was that Renaissance period when they pretty much took over and they changed the game of everything. All right, they changed everything around, started pushing forth all their little, you know, mathematical ways, and there's science and astrology, and they were thinking and trying to say art should be this way and that way and all different things. They fashion this world or themselves, in a manner where in modern day they're trying to fashion the whole world after themselves. All right, but that's that God complex that they have. All right, but America is the result of all those things. All right, that Renaissance period, the revival of the Roman Empire, they built back after the ancient Roman Empire, and they're continuing to forward themselves, in real time as we speak. Okay, so going back to Revelation chapter 17, we find here in verse 8 it says, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. All right, predestination, right, being preordained to receive salvation in these latter days from the said perils and troubles and the judgments that's going to come on the earth straight from the Lord. All right, and we see those things happening, and they're going to happen on a higher level. We think 2,000, bodies in Morocco or something. Just wait until it's just full blown Jacob's trouble, like, what I'm saying? Uh, it says, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. And once again, let's talk about America. All right, and here's where it gets deep. All right, verse 9 says, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. The seven heads are seven mountains. Mountains is talking about governments, okay, different rulership powers, right? Governments, okay. It says, on which the woman sitteth. All right, remember the woman is America, right? That great whore, that filthy skin. Verse 10 says, and there are seven kings, all right? Going tying right into what we just read, the seven heads are mountains, right? Governments, seven kings, all right? Kings rule over governments, right? All right, and there are seven kings. Five are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. All right. And before we continue on, I want to read something real quick. As a matter of fact, we don't have to read that one. It's okay because this is very important. All right. So in verse 11 says, "And the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth, and is of the seven, and goeth into perdition." All right. So we're gonna break this piece apart. All right. It says, "And there are seven kings." All right. And talk about the what did they call it up here? Seven heads, right? It says five are fallen. Okay, so what you have to understand is the time that John the Revelator was having these visions and writing these, and noting this in a book. he was under the ancient Roman Empire. Okay, so it says that the seven heads are seven mountains in which the woman sitteth, and there are seven kings. Five are fallen, which would be the Greeks, Germania Major, Germania Minor, the French, and the Spanish. Okay, those are the five that were fallen. Because you have to understand, though he was in the Roman Empire, the ancient Roman Empire, he was pretty much seeing the future. Okay, so that would be the Greeks, which is where it started at, right? The Edomites. Okay, Germania Major, Germania Minor, the French, and the Spanish. Okay, and it says, and the other is not yet come. All right, I'm sorry. It says five are fallen and one is, and the one is talking about the ancient Roman Empire because John the Revelator was actually in that ancient Roman Empire. All right, in Patmos mode. All right, because he was over in the Isle of Patmos, heavy in the spirit, prophesying. Okay, and that one that is he. That's why he said it was it. It is all right because it is here now. I'm living in that empire, which was the ancient Roman Empire. All right, it says, and one is and the other is not yet come. All right. And so far, that's six that we cover, right? And the one is not yet come. And that's talking about Great Britain, the British, right? It says, and when he's coming, he must continue a short space, right? It says, in the beast that was and is not, all right? And it said that up here in verse 8, right? Behold, the beast that was and is not, and it is, all right? It's talking about America, okay? It says, and the beast, verse 11, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth and is of the seven and goes into perdition. Perdition is talking about destruction. All right, he is the eighth. That is of the seven. That's that little horn that we spoke about earlier because it came up from Great Britain out of those that French, Spanish, and that those British, little Revolutionary Wars. All right, all those things that happened. All right, which I believe were all on American soil. Okay, and so eventually America was established as its own. Okay, that's why it's called the little horn, the eighth that is of the seven. And the seven altogether are the Greeks, the Romans, the Germania Major, Germania Minor, the French, Spanish, and the British. And America is the eighth that is of those seven, that little horn that came up. All right. Speaking lies and blasphemies and so on and so forth, giving great power within the earth. Right. So, and real quick before we move on, we're going to grab something too. I believe we read it earlier in Daniel 7:8. I'm gonna grab that. That's not the first one. I'm gonna grab it real quick though. Give me a second. Pull it up. I do believe reading that earlier. I'm sorry, not there. It's Daniel chapter 7, verse 8 says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up. All right. We talked about that. French, Spanish, and the British. All right. That's where America came up. The eighth that is of the seven, the little horn. All right. Let's talk about America. It said, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of men, and their mouth speaking great things. All right, so now you understand that great whore, Revelation chapter 17, that great whore, Mystery Babylon the Great. Talk about America. America is Babylon the Great. The revival of the Roman Empire came back up in the Renaissance period. Renaissance meaning rebirth, but it was iconoclasm, whitewashing, so on and so forth. All right, gotta keep reiterating that. There's another verse I'm gonna grab real quick. Jeremiah. Second here. All right, Jeremiah chapter 50. And looking for here it is. Verse 12. Jeremiah 50 and 12 says, your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Right? You know the mother's talking about Great Britain. Right? We talk about the French, Spanish, and the British. All right, America's that little horn, the eight that is of the seven. All right, came up from those particularly revolutions or wars, whatever you want to call them. Right? America the eight. All right. It says, your mother shall be sore confounded. That's talking about Great Britain. She that bear you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. All right, talking about America being destroyed, wiped off this map. Okay, so I just wanted to grab that real quick. So going back, Revelation 17:12 says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, all right, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast." All right, those vassal states. We just read about it a little bit. Those vassal states. All right. Verse 13 says, "These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast." Right. And pretty much, America's not exactly one of them, but they pretty much like. I mean, you really can't explain it any other way. That's what vassal states do. They give their power over to one particular entity. All right. That one is talking about America. All right. It says, "These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast." Verse 14 says, "These shall make war with the land." The Lamb's talking about Yahushua. Talks about that in where is it? Revelation. No, yeah, well, actually, yeah, Revelation 12. Um, I believe also Revelation 19. There's someone else I can't remember right now, but it says, "These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful." Right, pretty much going back to the elect, right? The only ones predestined, preordained, right, from the beginning to see salvation in these latter days, right? So we can escape the missiles that are going to be launched over here in America. Verse 15, if we read earlier, says, "And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth," right? And the horse talking about America, "are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues," right? The power seat that it has over this earth, okay? I'll double check it before I bring it out. Okay, yeah, we read that earlier. Revelation 13. Wait, actually, no. Okay, no, that's going to something else. But actually, what did it said, "And see, he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore," those vassal states. All right, going into the EU, what I think it stands for, what, European Union. All right, you have the NATO, North American Treaty Organization. All right, all these different vassal states that are pretty much in league. Pretty much what I think what they call them, the G7 is it called, the G7. All right, those nations. You got the G7 versus the BRICS. Pretty much, that's what it is. All right, that's what it comes down to. But America's allies, everyone that deals with America right now, um, they're gonna, it's like we spoke on earlier. Eventually, there's gonna be something that the Lord brings on this earth, and put the spirit on those particular nations, where they're gonna turn against America, and they're gonna join. And like it says, they're gonna burn her with fire. They're gonna join in the midst of fire. All right, and they're gonna, pretty much the Lord is gonna put the spirit on these nations. All right, excuse me. Lord gonna, let me get a drink real quick. I like the Lord's gonna bring. He's gonna put a spirit on these nations and have a certain situation come upon this earth that's gonna cause them to say, "You know what? Screw this. This is it. All right, we're completely against you, America. All right." Whether they join the BRICS nations or not doesn't really matter. All that matters is that prophecy being fulfilled, which is them joining in the missile fire against America. Right, the BRICS nations are going to be the head of that. Right. It says, "The 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire." All right, and what's going to do that? Once again, missiles. Okay, scriptures talk about missiles in many places. I'm not going to drag them because we just trail off into a whole different lesson just with the missiles alone, right? But that's talking about that missile fire. Um, it says but in the books of Jeremiah, where it said the best, talks about it being a desolate wilderness, and we just read it. I think we read one of those verses, Jeremiah 51. It was like 51 and 7, somewhere around there. But regardless, it talks about it multiple times. America is going to get pummeled with these missiles, and it's going to be a desert wasteland. It's going to be left desolate, and nothing's going to be here except for desert creatures. All right. It says, verse 17 says, "For God hath put in their hearts, meaning their minds, to fulfill His will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast." You see, that's what states, "until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is the great city, the woman, right, which thou sawest, that whore, Revelation 17:5, right, that great whore, that filthy skank, that woman which thou sawest is that great city." And what is that great city? America, you see? So the woman is America. America is what it's talking about in Revelation chapter 17, verse 5, or in general, all right, when it talks about that great destruction, like scriptures talk about the lake of fire. All right, that's not a place under the earth. You learn that in church, and that's a lie. All right, hell is not under this earth. Hell is just the grave. Okay, and that lake of fire is talking about America being on fire by way of the missiles that will be launched over you by all nations. All right, the BRICS as well as its own allies. All right, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. All right, and it also actually says that further up. I forget where we read it. I believe it's the first one where it says, "And there came one of the seven angels." You got the seven wives talking, saying unto me, "Come hither. I was shown to be the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." And then when you go to verse 15, says, "He said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." All right, the power seat that it holds. And going back to verse 18, says, "The woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth." And they have a great pride and arrogance and pompous type of attitude about themselves. All right. They always talking about America, this, America, that, great, 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 make America great again. All right. Well, make sure you keep that same energy, because when the Lord comes back to destroy this place, he's gonna, well, it talks about that in second Ezra 13th chapter. You're gonna be afraid, but he's gonna put the spirit on you devils to continue to fight. All right, as well as these other nations. All right, because you all have to play, a part in this final judgment and destruction, Armageddon, one. All right. So that was Revelation chapter 17. Lord willing, you were edified. Um, Shalom, shalom. I'm gonna close it out. Shalom.